Ericka Hernandez is program director of the Mexican Cultural Center. She was born in El Paso, Texas, and raised in Juarez, Mexico, until she was 10 years old. At that age, she came to the United States with her mother and made Colorado her forever home. Having been born in a border town gave her the opportunity to experience the culture of both Mexico and the United States. And having come to this country without speaking the language, pushed her to rely heavily on something that she could understand, which was culture. When she was invited to help the Mexican Cultural Center with their first annual fundraising event in 2019, it was confirmed to her that culture and the arts had been her passion since childhood. Ericka is also part of the Scientific and Cultural Facilities District, Adams County Cultural Council, as well as the Community Acts Fund Committee, where she helps by contributing her experience from a bicultural, bilingual background to help build a stronger bridge between the arts and culture and our community. I do want to also bring your attention, before I bring Ericka up, to the art exhibit, if you didn't already notice it, which is about our same topic, and it's going to be up until November 30th. So stop and take a look at it today or some other time when you have more time. So just to introduce a little bit about the topic, Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, is a day of celebration for the people of Latin America, particularly in Mexico and Central America. Rather than grieve over the loss of a beloved family or friend, they choose to commemorate the lives of the dearly departed and welcome the return of their spirits. So Ericka is going to help us understand a little bit more about this tradition. I know it's going to be fascinating to me because I've been aware of it, but I don't know that I've really understood the ins and the outs. So please help me in welcoming Ericka Hernandez.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Terry, for that introduction. I'm so happy to be with you guys. It's my first time at this location, so hope it's not the last one. And I'm super happy to introduce this topic. It's one of the most year celebrations we have in Mexico, and it has taken a lot of popularity lately here in the U.S. So being able to understand and know a little bit more about this, it will be great for everybody. So we'll get started. So today we're going to be talking about what is Dia de Muertos. We will talk about its origins. Then we'll continue with when and the days that this is celebrated, how this is celebrated, the altar and its elements, as well as the embracement and its importance here in our local community. And then afterwards, we'll end up with the Q&A session. So what is Dia de Muertos? As Terry briefly mentioned, it is a celebration that takes place in Latin America, as well as in Mexico and Central America especially. It is the celebration and the grieve of our loved ones that have passed. And it's just to commemorate their lives and have them be with us once a year within our family again. So the history, it's actually embedded in the pre-Hispanic culture, and it got mixed with the Spaniard customs when they arrived here in America. So these customs kind of got combined with the traditional rituals that the Aztecs and all the Indians and all the natives did. So in Mexico, it's one of the countries where it's mostly celebrated. This celebration is practiced throughout the Mexico Republic. But however, Mexico, it's a very diverse country. So different regions have different types of celebrations, and it's celebrated a little differently. Although, the core of the celebration remains the same. Each variant revolves around certain common practices as a welcome and the farewell of the souls, placing offerings for the dead, the arrangement of the graves, and the ceremonies on cemeteries, and holding those religious services for them. I would also like to point out Dia de Muertos was declared as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity by the UNESCO back in 2003. So we're super happy to be part of this. So its origins, as I mentioned, for the Aztecs and all the pre-Columbian cultures, death was just not the end, but it was the beginning of a longer path. As the journey to the afterlife was exhausting, the relatives of the dead believed that placing offerings dedicated to them with bonfires whose purpose was to drive the soul. And following the conquest, these new ideas took place and were implemented. So the European ideology based in Catholicism modified the rites and the worldviews to them. The idea of prolonging life beyond remained, but the changes, the two regions that were dead in the Aztec mythology, were replaced by the idea of the heaven and hell. The fate of the souls is then determined by good and evil with the Spaniard ideology. And the dates to the death rituals have placed the indigenous festivity dedicated to the dead. All the cultural heritage of our ancestors with the Christian ideas brought by the Spaniards shaped us and made us the people with rich traditions, such as Dia de Muertos. This celebration is celebrated, as I mentioned, not equally in Mexico, but throughout Mexico. So here we can see the image of a traditional altar. You will always find some of these elements, which I will talk about in a little bit. And it's a celebration that's usually the first and the second. So those are the main days of the celebration, although there is some rituals that people do prior to those dates. So everything really begins the 28th of October. So that's when the first candle is lit and a white flower is placed to welcome the souls. They join it with the incense, the marigold flowers, salt, papel picado, or the paper flags, and other decorations as well. On the 29th, they add a glass of water for the lonely and forgotten souls. On the 30th, another candle is lit and the glass of water is placed with the bread. This is dedicated to those who left without eating in a tragic way or a fatal accident. On the 31st, another candle is lit, and with the water, they also add a picture, they add fruits, some of the traditionals or whatever the region gives, which is dedicated to the ancestors and the children in the limbo that were baptized. And then November 1st, it's also known as All Saints' Day. This is the day where they celebrate mostly the children that have passed. So they add toys, they add some of the objects or mementos of those that have passed. And then November 2nd is the Day of the Faithful Departed, which is the day of all the adults. That's when they do mostly all the celebrations. And, they place all of those items that those who have left this world enjoyed in life, all the pleasures like either food or cigars or alcohol or whatever that was. So November 3rd, the last candle is lit and copal is burned, which is the incense. And we say our goodbyes to the deceased, and we wait until next year to welcome them again into our home. So how does people celebrate? Here we can see one of the cemeteries. That's how they usually do it, especially in the central and the southern part of Mexico. They bring everything to the cemetery. They decorate it with a lot of the marigold flowers, cempasúchil, and candles, and they bring the food and they bring music, and they just kind of make a party for the dead. Some of the most popular things that can be remembered for this is the altar, which is the multi-tiered ritual platform where offerings or the ofrendas are placed for the dead. So some of the altars, as you can see here, there are different levels to the altars, which we'll talk in a little bit about. And traditionally, people prior to the November 1st is when they start building the ofrenda, especially in the beginning, the 28th of October. They have all different levels. They each level has kind of its own significance, and after this, they keep everything until the 3rd, as we saw. So, what is the altar? So the altar, as I mentioned, is it's placed in the ofrendas. It's the ofrenda placed in the people's home. Usually, it's a little different than in the U.S. As we see here, they have these more in public places. But in Mexico, it's more kind of like a family thing that they keep in their home. So they all the family kind of puts it together. They all help. They all kind of bring their own things to make it happen. And as I mentioned, everything within the ofrenda helps guide the soul back to them. So here we can see kind of a little explanation about the ofrenda. The altar must have 4 basic elements coming from nature. So it's earth, wind, water, and fire. Each is carefully presented within the offerings. The earth is represented with food. The altars display the favorite dishes of those departed. And they also includes the very traditional pan de muertos, or bread of the dead, which is a very sweet kind of orangey, tangy bread that usually make around this time of the year, and you can only find it around this November time. The wind is represented by the moving objects, which we can see through the colorful tissue paper or papel picado. And some of the colors the colors have meaning, and some of those meanings are the black papel picado represents the pre-Hispanic religions, and the purple represents the Catholic calendar to signify pain, suffering, and grief. The pink means celebration. The white one is for purity and hope. The yellow and orange represent the marigold, the sun, and the light. So water is represents life. So it's represented through the glasses of water, and that it's believed to help quench the thirst of those who have come visited. Fire is represented by the candles and symbolize light and warmth. This light helps the souls also find their way to meet the family and friends. Some other important elements that altars include are the cempasúchil, or the marigold flowers. This yellow flower comes from our soil and blooms in a short time. However, they always bloom around this time of the year. The incense, also called copal, is used for calling our deceased and also greet the gods. The word copal means in the Nahuatl language copali, which means incense. This is used since the pre-Hispanic times. The sugar skulls are also part of the ofrendas. These candies in shape of skulls remind the living that life and memories are sweet. It is a custom that friends and family also give sugar skulls with the name written on them. And so Dia de Muertos, yeah, it's celebrated here when in the U.S. a little different than Mexico. As I mentioned, Mexico, it's a little more of a family kind of thing, and here it's a little more public, more festivity. So those are some of the elements I just mentioned. Here's another example of an ofrenda. Here we can see where they have the skulls. We have the sugar skull. We have the pan de muerto. We have some tamales, the flowers, pictures of those departed, as well as some of the religious elements. So now we can talk about the levels of the altar. These levels used to build they represent the different stages of human existence. A 2-level Ofrenda represents both earth and heaven. The 3 level, it's what includes the purgatory. And the most traditional, it's the 7 level ofrenda, which is to guide them to rest in peace. So those are the 7 levels that are included. Level 7 includes the bottom level that's on the floor, and that has the flowers, the paper crosses made from seeds of salt, which means, or it's believed that it purifies the souls. Level 6 includes the pictures of those loved ones. Level 5, the food and beverages of them. Level 4 with the pan de muerto, or the bread dead. Level 3, the salt is placed for purification purposes as well. Level 2 includes the candles and the mirror to help them guide them. And then the top level, it's usually where they set up the religious images or the cross. So here we can see another picture from the cemetery, how they, as I mentioned, the decorations, a lot of the flowers, a lot of the candles. Those flowers, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to smell the real flowers. They have a really strong smell to them. So it is also believed that helps the souls guide them back to the families. So how do we here in Denver locally embrace this celebration? So even that these celebrations take place throughout Mexico, as I mentioned, they've had a very exponential popularity here lately, and it's celebrated more publicly than internally at homes. So all forms of cultural expression it's to celebrate this day. It's just bringing back that cultural background, and just the meaning remains the same, making that homage to our loved ones and celebrating life. So we do have a lot of activities here in Colorado where we do parades, we do processions, we do Catrina contests, we do a lot of those kind of celebrations, more largely scale. We personally, the Mexican Cultural Center, don't have our own celebration, as we work mainly through collaborations, and we work all across the state. We have a celebration coming up in Breckenridge. We go all the way to Greeley, Fort Collins. So we're all over the place. We try to stay a little bit away from the metro areas. It is very saturated with a lot of things going on. So we try to be a little more accessible and bring those cultures and activities to other people that don't have the opportunity to come into town. Well, thank you so much for being with us and listening to Dia de Muertos and learning a little bit more about what we do, who we are, and this tradition. So I'm open to questions. Yes?
You mentioned the days. Do the altars stay up for a long time after that, or do people after the last day turn them down the next day, or what's kind of the tradition?
So usually it begins from the 28th of October when they begin with the first candle, all the way to November 3rd. That's when they have that copal ritual where they begin breaking it apart and then just dismantling the ofrenda.
They do take them.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
To kind of piggyback on that, is there a traditional way of, once it's broken down, what you do? It seems wrong to just throw away.
Yes.
Is it so that what happens with the stuff that's been taken down?
They usually leave it out, or just they dismantle the ofrenda, but they leave them out for about a week. When the food starts to get bad, they just kind of get rid of that. Or they do the ritual with the copal, so they kind of guide them out of this world back to wherever they came from, and then yeah. Yes.
What does the character Katrina represent?
So Katrina, it's kind of like a mocking of a dead for Mexicans, to kind of make fun of the dead that we will all be there once, but we want to let her know we're not afraid of her. We welcome her, and she can be part of this life too. Yes.
So, I want to know about the dog
all I do, but. I have two questions, actually.
Yes.
The first one is, can you expand a little bit on the regional differences in
Mhm.
Mexico?
Yes.
And my second question is, can you also expand on what and where the Mexican Cultural Center is and what you all do?
Absolutely. So,
Can you repeat the question so other people know what?
sure. So her first question is to expand a little bit more about the differences and the regional differences that's get celebrated, and then number two, who's the Mexican Cultural Center, and expand a little bit more about who we are and what we do. So to question number one, the Dia de Muertos celebration, it's a little more irrigated to central and southern of Mexico. They have a little more of a sentiment to that. They celebrate a little more than we do in the northern part. We do celebrate it, and we do put the altars, but it's not as important, or it's not as a big tradition as it is in the southern part, especially like Oaxaca, Chiapas, Mexico City, that central area. And it's something that, as I mentioned, it's over 3,000 years old. So it's something that they pass on generation to other generation. And everything, it still remains with the marigold flowers, the candles, all the four elements, the wind, the water, a fire, and everything. As for who we are, we the Mexican Cultural Center have been around for over 32 years. We share the same building with the Mexican consulates. We're off in Glendale, off of like Leedsdale. Pretty much all of our programming, it's free to the community. We do 3 big celebrations throughout the year, but we do collaborations throughout the whole year as well. We start off the year with the Children's Day celebration. We put that up with the Museum of Nature and Science, Denver Art Museum, mostly the big organizations here, Denver Botanic Gardens, a lot of them. We celebrate children. We pay homage to childhood and the children. Then we moved to the Latin Beats concert, which was just last Thursday. We do that in collaboration with the Colorado Symphony. We usually bring guest artists and make that platform for local artists as well to be part of this. And it's a Hispanic Heritage Celebration concert where we make a fusion of classical music with mariachi, with banda, with different, and it's again free to the community. Then we do the Dia de Muertos celebrations. We have our fundraising events. That's how we kind of make up for all the expenses to make sure we continue to provide free activities for the community. So, thank you. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have a couple questions. So, like, I have seen that Hernandez in various places, like the parks in particular. So I know that it's kind of like creeping into the more general culture here.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder, like, traditionally, do you like take off a couple of days from work, or is it just something you incorporate into your after work practice? And how do you incorporate? How do children learn about this sort of celebration? How do you get them involved with that, helping them just that they're not quite capable of doing this?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't take any days off for this. It's actually our busiest season. We work nonstop, starting September all the way to mid-November until next Thanksgiving. We're super busy with all Dia de Muertos and the concert that I just mentioned. So we don't take any days off, but we do encourage children, especially the younger generations. We do a lot of school presentations like this. We do a lot of workshops as well. We even bring guest artists from Mexico to have lectures and things like that to kind of complement this type of presentations. And we also, I think children got very excited about Dia de Muertos after the Coco movie. I think that was a big helper to kind of understand the basic of the celebration, and they get pretty excited, and every time we kind of talk about this, they bring it up. So yeah, we work really hard to make sure we we teach the new generations to kind of pay homage to their loved ones and how to embrace this tradition.
I think her question was also, do individual people take the day off from work?
No, I don't think it's either in Mexico or here. They just kind of do it after work or in their time, that type of celebration. Yes.
So are there cemeteries in and around Denver where you would see this?
I haven't heard of any, but there might be. I don't think I've seen anything like that in cemeteries here yet, but it may be something to try to incorporate maybe in the future. Yes.
Is there anything with like forgotten souls? Like I'll bring up the movie Coco, for
Yes.
example. Is that something that was kind of created through like Hollywood, kind of that whole thing of Hollywood? Can't think of the words right now, but where souls, they're afraid that souls will be forgotten if the families don't carry on this tradition. Is there anything with that, or was that more movie-esque?
It was more movieist, but I think since you could see in the beginning of the dates, like the 28th, the 29th, they do those candles to kind of for those lost souls or those who continued to be remembered.
Yes. Question. The candles that are placed there, are they done daily? Is a candle a second candle, a third candle, or is it replacing?
It's kind of replacing the candle. What they want to have is just have that flame just going on. They also add additional candles just to kind of add or just make it a little more a stronger kind of bond for that. But yeah, they do just want to make sure the fire keeps going.
My second question: when I was a kid living in Japan, they had what was known as Bonadori Festival, and that was to celebrate the ancestors who had passed. Is this kind of a vestige of maybe the natives coming from, migrating down from Asia down to the Americas and down to South America? Is this maybe a connection between those two, or is it just kind of maybe like a prehistoric memory that we all share, like a group memory of our ancestors?
I think in a way, every culture kind of pays homage to their loved ones and want to remember those who have passed. I think they all have some interconnections and some things that are similar. I know all the culture, like for example, for Children's Day, as I mentioned, it is celebrated across the world. It's just not something from like Mexico or Latin America, but it's from Asia, from Europe, so from different parts. So I think it's something similar. Each culture kind of does their own thing to remember those who have passed, and but I think at the end they all kind of have the same purpose. So, yeah, thank you. Yes.
I'm interested in these sugar skulls. Are they
Yes.
like the size of a skull, or are they little tiny candies?
They have different sizes. They have like from tiny skulls to like big ones. Lately, I've seen them like chocolate covered, and they've made some modifications to them. But yeah.
And where do you buy these things?
In Mexico, I've seen them like at the markets or kind of the stores in the streets mainly. So, and then they sell them like by the pack, or as you could see, they have them like customized with the name or something. So,
So here you probably order them from Amazon.
probably.
So that campaign, it's up there in the Highlands area, and they have most, I think, maybe more. Yeah, probably certain, but I have seen them there, and I would think maybe some of the other stores might have.
Anybody else? Yes.
When you are thinking of the people of the past, how far back do you go? Do you go like generations and generations? Do you just go to people that you actually knew? Like how far back do the pictures from the people?
I think they go as back as like their, if per se, a little girl was told about stories about her great grandmother, and they have those pictures and they have those kind of memories. They're able to bring it back as far as they want or they can. Because at the cemeteries that you saw, they sit down, they talk, they tell stories. It's more of a storytelling kind of tradition as well.
And when people actually die, are any of these things done, or does this overlap? Does this celebration overlap when people actually die? Do they do a lot of similar things or no?
No, it's mainly just around the Dia de Muertos. It's kind of like a once a year kind of thing. Mhm. Yes.
What did they do before photography?
They had drawings, yes. I don't know if you saw, I think we had a slide. This one, I think that's a painting. So yeah.
Can you explain what some of those other things are there?
Sure. So we have right here we have the tamales, we have the bread of the dead. Usually it has like some sugar on top. We have the flowers. They do have cempasúchil, but they have other types of flowers. They do have the skulls. This one in the middle, the one with like the red eyebrows, that one's the sugar skull. It has a figurine. It has the religious images, as well as like the picture, and then the painting. Any other questions? Thank you all so much for your time, and hope you enjoyed it.